Hari Om, Namo Namaha, Vanakkam. My name is Sriram Raghavan. I live in Buffalo, New York. I've lived in the US for the last 16 years and I did my master's in computer science and I've lived there ever since. I've worked there in many places. Currently I work in a bank called M&T Bank. I work as an enterprise architect in IT. Now that is my day job. That is the job that pays bills. That is the job that pays for the car I drive, the house I have, and everything else. What I am is a storyteller. So I go from place to place and I tell the Mahabharata story to children and adults. I've been telling the story for about a year now on YouTube, and it's being listened to in over 50 countries worldwide. It has about 50,000, 60,000 listeners all over the world. Recently, I started telling the Mahabharata story in person in Buffalo in a temple. So to translate that, it's like a Kada Kalachepam, but it's a lot more informal. And I've been telling that for a few months now. Why should we talk about Mahabharata? I mean, what is the significance of Mahabharata? It's a story. It's like any other story. But why should we talk about it? And in order to talk about why Mahabharata, there is an even more fundamental question. The fundamental question is, why do we go to the temple? Most of us go to the temple or mosque or church in some capacity. Why do we go to the temple? There are many answers. We go to the temple to see God. We go to the temple to pray. We go to the temple to show reverence, show respect. Many reasons why we go to the temple. But the fundamental reason why a temple is important is because it provides a context. In other words, there are only 5 ways that something can enter our minds. There are only 5 ways something can enter our mind. Sight, smell, taste, sound, touch. Sight, smell, taste, sound and touch. Nothing can enter our minds other than these 5 ways. We as human beings are limited in what we can perceive. These are the only 5 tools given to us, and therefore we need a context to perceive God. That's how it starts. We simply cannot say God is everywhere. Is God everywhere? Of course God is everywhere. But how do we perceive God? Because we are limited. So we have to go to a temple and see an idol to bring about that context. We have to go to a temple and smell the fragrance of the flowers to bring about that context. We have to go to the temple and hear the priest say prayers to bring about that context and environment, and therefore we can have a relationship with God. That's how it starts. Venkatraman went through a life-changing experience and became Ramana Maharishi. Venkatraman, when he was 16 years old, went through a life-changing experience and he became Ramana Maharishi. Now he says this later. He says, before that life-changing experience, I used to go to the temple. I used to go to Meenakshi temple. I used to look at the idols there, revel at the beauty of the idols. I used to go there with friends, wear a vibhuti on my head, and come back. Used to have a nice time. After I went through a life-changing experience, I visited the temple more frequently. This time, I used to stand for hours in front of the idol. And tears used to flow from my eyes because now I could relate. Later on, he transcended that also. But this is Ramana Maharishi saying that he sees value in that context. We go to school to learn math, science, history. We go to college to learn law, medicine, computers. But we don't have a place or a location or an environment to learn life. Our ancestors realized that in this age, in Kali Yuga, it is going to be phenomenally difficult for us to go to a Gurukula and spend 12 years. It's not possible. So they said the easiest way to learn life is for grandmothers to tell grandchildren a story. And by virtue of telling us a story, and by virtue of telling us this epic which has everything encompassed in it, when children grow up, they automatically know what to do when they face a problem. When they learn from the age of 5 to 20 about a character called Yudhishthira, they learn about dharma. They learn about truth. And when they grow up, they automatically know what to do, what path to follow. Things that are not taught in any school. When they learn about Arjuna, they learn that not only is skill important, but perseverance is just as important. Dedication is just as important. Hard work is just as important. There was a man, there was an Indian man, very famous man, everybody knows him. And all he wanted to do when he was growing up was to become a lawyer. He grew up, he became a lawyer. Once he became a lawyer, he wanted to set up his own practice, which he did. And after setting up his practice, it failed miserably. So without a choice, he took up a job. He took up a job in a foreign country. And in that foreign country, it was a time when racial discrimination was prevalent. In that foreign country, he was traveling in a train in first class. And when he was traveling in the train, the ticket collector at that time pushed this guy onto the platform. And in that instant, in that moment, this man called Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi became Mahatma Gandhi. In that moment, he transformed. The moment was a catalyst. The incident is a catalyst, but not the reason why Mahatma Gandhi was Mahatma Gandhi. The reason was all the knowledge that he acquired, all the environments that he was a part of throughout his 24 years. Mahatma Gandhi writes in his autobiography, I was so enamored by the story of Harishchandra that I used to read it so many times and also tell it to myself so many times as a child. Later on, that knowledge of Harishchandra transcended into Mahatma Gandhi living the way of truth. Now, did he study Harishchandra with the intention of becoming Mahatma Gandhi? No. Which is why it is extremely important to teach our children the values, the culture, the ethics, and all these things are encapsulated into this one epic. Now, years ago, there was a method of teaching. The method of teaching was a child goes to school for about 12 years, called a Gurukula. And when that child comes out, they automatically, all their questions are answered. Our ancestors realized that this is impossible in our age, and they gave us this tool. And this tool has to be utilized between a certain age group. And that is also very important. Why is that important? There is a very curious thing about generation gap. Why does generation gap happen? Now, if you were to ask me what my favorite movie is, I'll say Michael Madana Kamarajan. That's my favorite movie. It's hands down, no doubts about it. Because I saw that movie when I was in about 10th standard or 11th standard. And it created such an impact in me, and I remember it till this date. And to me, that is the best movie ever made. I asked the same question to my mother, who's now 60. 60, right? Or something like that. Okay. I asked the same question to my mother, and my mother said that her favorite movie is Kuzhandayum Deivamum. I haven't even heard of that movie. But to her, that is her favorite movie. And you ask a kid who's in college today, who's 21 years old, he'll say Singham. Singham is his favorite movie. Why does this happen? Not because, of course, movies have changed. Not because Singham is in some form of fashion better than Michael Madana Kamarajan, which is in some form of fashion better than Kuzhandayum Deivamum. It is because whatever we learn within a certain age group is what shapes the rest of our lives. And therefore, it is extremely important to instill certain values, certain cultural ethics when children are in a certain age group. In Buffalo, which is where I tell this a lot, and I'll be telling it in Boston and Tampa and Florida and a few places later. In those places, the environment of the storytelling series is very different. The environment is parents and children. Parents and children come together, no matter the situation. The day I left Buffalo to come to Madras, it was minus 25 degrees out there. It was minus 25 degrees. It's unimaginable. It's extremely cold. There is so much snow. There is so much snow. You can't even see more than a few feet. Every Thursday, I go to the temple and I tell the Mahabharata story. And every Thursday, parents and children turn up. Why? They turn up because, not only because they want their children to learn. No, they'll have ways to send their children there. They don't have to sit through this whole epic. They come there with their children because it is important to create a relationship with your child with a context like Mahabharata. Your child and Mahabharata creates that context. They learn with their child throughout the series. They learn with their child. And it's not just about Mahabharata. They learn with their child with everything. Could be a maths tuition. They sit with their child. It could be guitar lessons. They sit with their child. It could be learning Tamil. There are Tamil classes that happen there. They sit with their child. Parents and children come together into a learning environment and learn together, and thereby creating a relationship with their children. If we don't do that, when we grow older and when they grow older, there will be no relationship left. There is no way that we can talk to our child or relate to our child about Rotary Club, about something that we do, without having some things that we relate to them with. And that is what a learning environment creates. And that is probably what I would like to see more and more happening in India. And that's why I've started coming here to tell the story in as many places as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. I would love to.
So maybe the Indian national they come or foreign national also they come?
In that particular forum, only Indian nationals come. But in YouTube that I'm listening to, the top country statistics, YouTubeல வந்து நிறைய statistics வரும். The top country is US. India is number 2nd. Germany is number 3rd. UK is number 4th. Norway, Finland, Oman, Egypt, South Korea, New Zealand, Australia, China, Hong Kong, Peru, Argentina, all these countries there are people listening to it. I can only imagine that some portion of them are not Indians. In fact, many people email me, text me, and kind of ask questions. Why isn't Karna a good character? Why is it, for example, Karna is a fantastic character. And that Hello. That is the magic of Mahabharata. By telling us a story like Karna, it instills that concept that it does not matter how good you are, it does not matter what a fantastic person you are, it does not matter how generous you are. Even if you are the best doctor in the world, if you are a doctor for Osama bin Laden, you will die. So therefore, Karna's story is significant to teach our children and teach us that it does not matter what a great personality we are. Tapana side join manna, we will perish. It's also that is the karma.
உலக அளவில் வந்து இந்த மகாபாரத கதைகள் நீதி இதெல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல, உலக அளவில் வந்து நம்ம வந்து ஏதாவது புத்தகங்கள் போட்டு பரப்புவதற்கு வாய்ப்பு பண்ணியிருக்காங்களா?
Yes and no. இருக்கு. Yes and no.
இதுல வந்து பண்ணும்போது இந்த மக்கள் வந்து ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியப்பட வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. நம்முடைய மகாபாரத நீதி
நான் ஏன் பண்ண ஆரம்பித்தேன், எவ்வளோ மகாபாரதம் இருக்கே, ஆயிரத்துக்கணக்கான மகாபாரத புத்தகங்கள் இருக்குது. This is another book. Why did I start? Because this is a Facebook generation. We simply do not have the time to sit and read hours and hours of text. There is absolutely no time. Time irundhalum we have no inclination. The attention span, I did a lot of research before starting the story. The attention span of an individual is 10 minutes. That is what it has come down to. It is 10 minutes. So I started making 10-minute audio chapters at the maximum. And people listen to it. Thousands and thousands of people now listen to it. When they drive in the car, when they are cooking, when they are in the restroom. It does not matter. The knowledge is getting in.
ஸ்பீட் கூட கூட 10 நிமிஷம் தான்.
Only I like one more thing to what Sriram said. Like I was commenting one of his writings, I was just commenting. Normally in Mahabharata Parsanaka, we always, the people who have written are really probably Arya Padichi, they try to take the essence of it and start telling it. Even Cholada, it will look like very colloquial. It doesn't come in the, what you say, படிச்சாக்க அந்த கைண்ட் ஆஃப் என்வரன்மெண்ட் வேணும், நம்ம உட்காரணும், அதுக்கு ஒரு புக் அதே மாதிரி ஒரு எக்ஸாக்ட்லி
நம்ம மைண்ட்ல பதிஞ்சிரும். அது மறக்கவே மறக்காது.
நான் ஆடியோ தான் பண்ணுறேன் இப்போ. ஐ எம் டூயிங் அன் ஆடியோ சீரீஸ் அண்ட் புத்தகமாக வெளில வருது.
மகாபாரதத்தில் யாருது எது வீடியோவா நல்ல இது இல்லை, அந்த மாதிரி வீடியோ ஃபுல் வெர்ஷன் கிடைக்குதுங்களா?
ஃபுல் வெர்ஷன் வந்து ஓகே, ஸோ லெட் மீ டெல் யூ திஸ். ஓகே, ஸோ திஸ் ஐ ஹேவ் டு டெல். லெட் அஸ் இமேஜின் ஃபஸ்ட் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் படிக்கிற ஒரு பையன் goes and asks his father a question. Dad, how long do I have to study before I start working? So the dad, patiently answers this child, well son, you have to go to school for 12 years. And the son asks, 12 years? And the dad says, no, that's not it. You have to study college, which is another 4 years. He says, I have to study for 16 years? And then the dad says, well, you have to do your master's because your job opportunities will be better, which is another 2 years. I have to study for 18 years. And then the dad adds the kicker, in case you want to become a doctor, add another 5 years to that. And if this first standard child says, I have to study for 2 decades or 23 years before I start working, I'm not going to go to first standard. That's the state of all of us today. We want to know how we can get an encapsulated knowledge. The Mahabharata, as a life teacher, is intended to take time, is intended to take years, is intended to be studied for years. Because we cannot study a concept of Yudhishthira and become full of truth tomorrow. Chance kedayadu. We will go back and say the same lies. It has to be studied over and over and over again until that becomes a habit. And then we can appreciate it. So இதில் வந்து உங்கள் கேள்விக்கு பதில் வந்து வீடியோ நான் இப்போ பேசுகிறது எல்லாத்தையும் வீடியோ எடுக்கிறேன். ஒரு கதையாக சொல்கிறது எல்லாமே இட் இஸ் இந்த வீடியோ ஃபார்ம் விச் ஐ வில் பி புட்டிங் அவுட். ஸோ ஃபஸ்ட்டு எடிஷனை வெளில போட்டுட்டேன் யூடியூப்பில், செகண்ட் போடுவேன், தேர்ட் போடுவேன். இட் வில் பி அ காம்ப்ரிஹென்சிவ் ஸ்டோரி டெல்லிங் சீரீஸ். பட் இஸ் இட் கோயிங் டு பி a 10-minute gratification thing? No. It is going to take time. And for the people who have the time and inclination, they will be benefited.
உங்களுடைய எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வந்து எப்படி, நீங்கள் அந்த மகாபாரதத்தை படித்ததுனால வந்ததா இல்லை பார்த்ததுனால வந்ததா இல்லை எப்படி?
பாட்டி தாத்தானால வந்தது. ஆமாம், பாட்டி தாத்தானால தான் வந்தது. அது வந்து அதுவுமே ஒரு இன்க்ளினேஷன் இது பண்ணுறதுக்கு. என்னுடைய தாத்தா பாட்டி, என்னோட கொள்ளு தாத்தா பாட்டியும் என்னை வளர்த்தா. ஸோ ஐ வாஸ் வெரி ஃபார்ச்சுனேட். என்னுடைய தாத்தா பாட்டி அண்ட் கொள்ளு தாத்தா பாட்டிக்கு only source of entertainment was me. Only source of entertainment. Today's parents, which is all of us. Today's parents are tomorrow's grandparents. We have so many sources of entertainment. Where are we going to find the time to tell stories to our grandchildren? It is impossible. And that is how things have metamorphed in all these years. And one day I woke up, and this happens a lot in the US. எங்களுக்குலாம் நிறைய பயம் வரும். இந்த கல்ச்சர் வந்து நம்ம குழந்தைக்கு தெரியாமல் போயிடுமேன்னு அடிச்சு சொல்லி தருவோம். Actually, I was just thinking about it today. This is a historic moment. Probably one of the first times that somebody from the US is coming here and talking and teaching Mahabharata in a few places. And this is going to happen more and more. There are people already who come from the US come here and teach Sanskritam. There are at least 5,000 people in the US who speak Sanskritam fluently at home. Samskrita Bharati USA is grown like anything in the US. ஆமாம், ஆச்சரியப்படுறாங்க. அதுக்கு ஒன் ஆஃப் த பிரைமரி ரீசன்ஸ் இஸ் how old is Mahabharata? It was set in 3000 BC or 5000 years old. சரி, அப்படி சொல்லும்போது it seems like a long time ago, but how long ago? Which came first, Mahatma Gandhi or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. Which came first, World War or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. Which came first, American independence or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. Which came first, Guru Nanak or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. Which came first, Buddha or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. Which came first, Christ or Mahabharata? Mahabharata. It supersedes everything. And they are so incredibly challenged to think of how can there be such a culture that is so old. In Mahabharata it is written that Brahma, son Atriyoda pulla vandu Chandraoda pulla Buddha, which is Mercury. 5,000 years ago they realized that there was a planet called Mercury. How? It is astonishing. And therefore there is so much knowledge in it. And therefore it is our fundamental duty. I mean, it is our dharma, it is our duty to not just tell it to our children, at least our children, but not just our children, to each and every child that is out there. So the baton is carried along.
மகாபாரதத்துக்கு ஒரு அடுத்து சொல்றது கூட வேற எந்த லாங்குவேஜ்ல எந்த நாட்டிலே இல்ல.
அட்லீஸ்ட் நான் படித்த வரைக்கும் there are a lot of texts. அதாவது there are a lot of texts இருக்கு. பட் இது ஏன் இவ்வளோ காம்ப்ரிஹென்சிவ் அப்படின்னா, let's take an example of Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is an enormously boring book. It is an extremely boring book if you take it and try to read it. You have to be an already realized soul, already accustomed to so many practices and religious activities to be able to appreciate Bhagavad Gita. The reason why Bhagavad Gita is so boring is because we often try to read it out of context. We don't try to read about Brahma, Atri, Chandra, Buddha, Nahusha, Yayati, Dushyanta, Shantanu, Bhishma, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, Duryodhana, Shakuni. And we don't try to read about the lives of all these people and simply pick up Bhagavad Gita and try to understand it. Impossible. It is like trying to go straight to 11th standard, which is our culture. We want instant gratification. There's one thing I tell people. How long is the Mahabharata series going to take? It does not matter. It's a life teacher. How long is your life? It does not matter. Mahabharata is for life.
வெளிநாட்டுல ஏதாவது பாடத்திட்டத்துல வச்சிருக்காங்களா?
என்னது?
பாடத்திட்டம், அதாவது
ஓகே. ஸோ மகாபாரதத்துக்கு இருக்கான்னு தெரியல, சம்ஸ்கிருதத்துக்கு நிறையா இருக்குது. தெர் இஸ் அ கோர்ஸ் கால்ட் சம்ஸ்கிருதம் ஆஸ் அ ஃபாரின் லாங்குவேஜ், சாஃபல்னு. இட் இஸ் அ கரிக்குலம் இன் மெனி ஸ்கூல்ஸ் இன் த US. Sanskritam is a curriculum in many schools in the UK. In fact, they have many Sanskrit competitions in school as part of a curriculum. No, அவங்க ஊர் பசங்க. I have tons of videos where foreigners ரொம்ப ஸ்பஷ்டமாக சம்ஸ்கிருதம் பேசுவாங்க. நம்ம ஊர் பசங்க வந்து அங்கே படிக்கிறாங்க நிறையா. ஆமாம், பட் நம்ம ஊர் பசங்க நிறைய படிக்கிறாங்க. அமெரிக்கன்ஸ் ஆஃப்கோர்ஸ் நிறைய படிக்கிறாங்களே, எக்கச்சக்கமாக படிக்கிறாங்க. இட் லிவ்ஸ் தேர். அண்ட் த ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரீசன் ஃபார் தட், இதுதான் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் பாயிண்ட். த ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரீசன் ஃபார் தட் இஸ் நாட் அமெரிக்கா, is not UK, is not Obama. The fundamental reason for that is the parent. The parent does it, the child automatically does it. We have that moral responsibility, ethical responsibility to be such a parent, that our child looks up to you and not treat you like a stranger. We have that ethical responsibility, and that is why there is so much that's happening there.
You described only 3.
இல்லை I gave examples for only 3 அப்படிங்கிறாரு. To give examples for order, next time சொல்லிடுறேன். Thanks. Sure, absolutely.
மகாபாரதத்துல கேரக்டர் வைஸ் கொஞ்சம் ஒரு 4 கிளாஸ் சொன்னேன்ல. உங்களுக்கு கவுண்ட் what is the best character?
I can tell you a குட்டி story which has a couple of characters and thereby their characteristics. If that is okay, I can tell you that. Okay. So, ஒரு நாள் வந்து there was Arjuna and Krishna. Okay. Arjuna and all the Pandavas were ruling in Indraprastha. Indraprastha, they were kings. Duryodhana was ruling in Hastinapura. Krishna visited them one day. Arjuna and they are already ruling in Indraprastha. Okay. Before the game of dice, before Katuk Porthukku Munadi, they are ruling in Indraprastha. Krishna comes and visits them one day. Arjuna and Krishna are great friends, enormous friends. So he's so happy to see Krishna. They both like hug each other and jump and joy and all that. So what happens? They say, okay, let's go out and have some fun. And they both they both start walking outside. They drink some wine. They have, they party, and they walk into a forest. They walk into a forest called Khandava, and in this forest they meet a Brahmana. And as soon as they meet a Brahmana, they pay respect to him. Say, dear Brahmana, we want to serve you. Tell us what we can do for you. It's the dharma of Kshatriyas to serve Brahmanas. And the Brahmana said, I am hungry. Get me some food to eat. So Arjuna immediately says, sure, I'll get you some food to eat. What kind of food do you want? And this Brahmana reveals his true self and says, I am Agni, god of fire. I am Agni. The food I want is to burn this Khandava forest. But Indra is not letting me do it because his friends live in this forest. And there are so many thousands of animals here. Every time I try to burn it, the elephants and cobras and lions and all that somehow get water from river Yamuna and douse the fire. So if you help me, I can burn the forest. Arjuna and Krishna say, yes, okay, we'll do it, but we don't have weapons that are powerful enough to defeat the mighty army of Indra. So Agni calls Varuna and asks him to give one weapon each to Arjuna and Krishna. And he gives Arjuna the Gandiva bow, and he gives Krishna the discus, Changu Chakram, that he has in his hand. Okay? And then there is this enormous war. Indra vandu sanda potu, Arjuna and Krishna are so powerful, they defeat everybody. Forest is burned down. This is the story. When I first read the story, my initial thought was, what a stupid story. It has like no significance. Two people go into a forest and the forest is burned down. All the creatures are killed. What a story. And then I started digging into that story. Long ago, there was this king. And this king wanted to perform a sacrifice, a yajna, which was the best in the world. And he started the sacrifice. And it took 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. All the rishis and sages who were helping him perform the sacrifice got tired of the smoke and fire. And they said, I'm sorry, I cannot help you anymore, and walked away. This king wanted to finish the sacrifice, so he prayed to Lord Shiva. And Shiva came. And Mari, I want to finish the sacrifice and there's nobody to help me. Can you help me? And Shiva said, the Trimurti gods cannot directly indulge in human activities, but go request sage Durvasa and he will help you. So this king goes and requests sage Durvasa, and sage Durvasa helps him, and the sacrifice is over. Then I started wondering, why Durvasa of all the people? I started digging more. Shiva and Brahma had an argument one day, and Shiva got so angry, and if he lets that anger escape, it will destroy the universe. So Shiva collects that anger, puts it in the womb of this woman called Anasuya, and because it's a result of all that anger, Durvasa was born, and that is why Durvasa is an angry sage. And because it came from Shiva, he is in fact an avatar of Shiva. Dingar the Kada. Chari, this king finished his sacrifice. What is a sacrifice? It is fire where you pour ghee and butter. Idallam saaptittu Agni gets very sick. And he goes and asks Brahma, please cure me. Brahma says, the forest Khandava has overgrown. Just like God is responsible for creation, God is also responsible for maintenance. God is also responsible for destruction. He says, the time has come for Khandava to be destructed. So go burn down the forest. By burning the trees and animals and everything, your sickness will be cured. Agni comes, does this. 3 facts. 1. An overgrown forest called Khandava had to be destroyed. Any creation has to grow up, destroyed. Fact 2, Agni was sick, had to be cured. Fact 3, Krishna and Arjuna, a war is impending. The time had come for them to get celestial weapons. All these 3 things had to happen, and it needed an incident. காலம்புற தூங்கி எழுந்த உடனே கையில் சக்கரம் இருக்குமா? இருக்காது. As human beings, even if it is Krishna, it needs an incident. It needs something to happen to make something happen. அதாவது if I am destined to break my leg, something has to happen. I have to trip in the stairs. I have to meet with an accident. Something has to happen. It needs an incident. And this incident made all these 3 things happen because by karma they had to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Sriram. I request Rotary Srinivasan to propose the vote of thanks.
Everybody today came with a lot of expectations first. The topic is like that. வரும்போது கிருஷ்ணன் வாஸ் ஸோ இது ஏன்டா நீ லேட்டாக வந்தாய், போய் எவ்வளோ ஒன்று கேட்க வேண்டியிருக்கு, நீ ஏன் லேட்டாக வந்தாய் என்ன திட்டினான். அண்ட் he was right. ஆனால் ஐ கேவ் த அஷூரன்ஸ் வாஸ் தட் நம்ம போயிட்டு தாண்டா மீட்டிங் ஆரம்பிப்பா, நீ கவலைப்படாத. சப்ஜெக்ட் வாஸ் ஸோ குட். ஐ திங்க் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு அட்டெண்டன்ஸ் நம்ம கிளப்பில் வந்து இட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ் ஒன்லி ஃபார் people wishing to have listen to good topics, and it has happened today. Okay. Yes, what Sriram has done today is, it is there in everybody wanting to know, it has just got ignited. Well, next thing that will happen is everybody is going to look into the YouTube. Okay, this is something that has got ignited for everybody. There is that yearning to know, but it did not get, this incident had to happen. Okay, this incident had to happen for that ignition. In all our activities, you will see what is happening, this AAP movement and or Modi movement or anything else. All change has to happen with a mindset. The mindset changes, so many things happen. For mindset to change in a positive way, values should have been there. But for values, mindset won't change into a positive direction. When he said that mindset, for a mindset to change, have a positive direction, value inculcation. This is the only thing that can save mankind from insanity. And we all know it, and this karma bhumi is meant for giving that values, universal values in life, because of so many Puranas and the very nature of our way of life, this Sanatana Dharma itself. So I'm so happy. One is that as a young man was taken, it as a passion in himself to put it across to the next generation of children in the area where you live or in the country where you live, and you have used a technology medium to pass it on to the world across. It's so beautiful, wonderful to know it. Wish you do this more and more and create an army of such people. Thank you so much.
லாஸ்ட் டைம் நான் கிரிஜா மேடம் கிட்ட வந்துட்டு என் கிளப்பில் வந்துட்டு ஸ்பீக்கராக நீங்கள் மேடம் ஒன்ஸ் நீங்கள் வரணும், நான் வரேன் சுரேஷ். நான் அதுக்கப்புறமா வந்துட்டு ஐ லாஸ்ட் மை சன் டு கம் அண்ட் பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ், ஐ மீன் ஆஸ் எ ஸ்பீக்கர் வந்துட்டு பேச சொல்கிறேன் நான் அப்படி சொல்லிட்டு. அதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஸ்ரீராம் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தார். ஸோ இஸ் விஷன் இஸ் டு கல்ச்சர் தி யங்ஸ்டர்ஸ் நாட் ஓன்லி இன் யூஎஸ், இன் இந்தியா ஆல்சோ. எல்லாருக்குமே வந்துட்டு இது மாதிரி ஒரு எப்பிக்கை வந்து நான் தெரிஞ்சிருக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு. இதுக்கு ஃபண்டமெண்டலாக இதுக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அவங்க தாத்தாவும் பாட்டியும் வந்துட்டு ஆஸ் புட் ஆன் த சீட் ஃபஸ்ட்டு அவங்க போட்டது வந்துட்டு ப்ராப்ளி இட் ஃபீட்ஸ் இம் நவ். த வே இ ஸ்பீக்ஸ் வந்துட்டு அவங்க மதர் வந்து ஆமாம் முன்னாடி நடந்துட்டு இருந்தது, இப்போ கம்மியாகிட்டுருக்கு வர அது. ஆமாம் இப்போ தாத்தா பாட்டி வந்துட்டு இப்போ மேக்ஸிமம் தாத்தா பாட்டி வந்துட்டு இங்கே தனியாக இருக்காங்க, எல்லோரும் இப்போ யூஎஸில் போய் செட்டில் ஆகிடுறாங்க. இல்லை எல்லோரும் இப்போ யூஎஸில் செட்டில் ஆகிடுறாங்க. தாத்தா பாட்டி இங்கே தனியாக இருக்காங்க, ஓல்டேஜ் ஹோமில் போயிட்டு கடைசியில் உட்கார வேண்டிய ஒரு சுச்சுவேஷனில் அவங்க இருக்காங்க. மோரோ சொல்லி கொடுக்குறாங்க. இப்போது அவங்க சன்னு பேசுறது மேடம் வந்துட்டு அந்தளவுக்கு ஷி ஹஸ் என்ஜாய்டு. திஸ் த பெஸ்ட் பார்ட் ஆஃப் தி சன் கேன் டூ ஃபார் எ மதர். தேங்க்யூ, தேங்க்ஸ் எ லாட், தேங்க்ஸ் ஃபார் கமிங்.
தேங்க்யூ சுரேஷ்.